swatch. I did swatch for it. I did follow the pattern. Good morning. Hi, everybody. I am here today. My name is Denise. I am also known as D, and on Instagram you can find me under Knit and Pearl D, um, or on Ravelry it's D-Dess, D-E-S-S. All right, so I am from Ottawa. I've been wanting to restart my YouTube channel ever since January. I finished Vlogmas of 2023 and had such a great time just chatting to my iPad. um, and yeah, so I really wanted to kind of sit down and do this. My plan was to start in July, but the month kind of went by really quickly. But I definitely wanted to start something before September. Last night I couldn't sleep. I went to bed at like midnight. I woke up at 4:45, wide awake. My body was just like, you had 5 hours, you're good. And so I did a bit of knitting. I watched a bit of TV, and then I sat down with my knitting journal last night and started to make my plan for the month of August. Just kind of what projects I wanted to start. I'm really thinking about the fall right now because it's around the corner, even though it feels like 30 degrees Celsius here in Ottawa. And so I sat down with my journal and I created a page just for ideas for the podcast. I think what I'm going to plan on doing is having one monthly. I'll most likely post the monthly one towards the end of the month, maybe just talk about what I've done during that month. And then I would have some ad hocs here and there. So today I really wanted to come on and just sort of talk to you a little bit about my sweater plans for the fall. I've cleared a space on my shelf. I don't have a big stash. It's mostly my shelf, but and I have one or two bins. But one day I'll kind of go through what I have in my stash with you. But for now, I've cleared a shelf space, and what I like to do is really just have all of my sweater quantity yarns up there of what I'm planning on working on this fall and upcoming winter. The plans will probably change. I may also not get through everything because I believe I have 5 sweater quantities that I'd like to get through. And I really want to start working on my summer knits in the month of February because I have a big European trip booked in August. And although it's going to be very hot, I do want to have a couple of knit tops to wear in the evenings. I'm doing a river cruise on the Rhine River with the grocery girls. Cabin Boy is coming, or they're coming, I should say. Also, Patty Lyons, the girls from Espastico, Rosehaven Yarn Store, which I believe they're the ones that were working with the grocery girls to get it organized with one of their travel agents that they work with. Trying to remember the name of the agency specific. I can't quite remember. But they do a lot of different trips, events, yarn related type things. So I'll mark them down in the show notes if ever you want to go take a look at what they have upcoming. And there's actually a yarn company coming from Australia. So very neat. I hope I didn't forget anybody. But we're basically sailing from Amsterdam down to Switzerland. And like I said, I have a feeling it's going to be very warm. It's early August, I believe, and I don't really want to wear my knits during the day necessarily, but I would love to have some for the evenings with, a nice pair of linen pants or a skirt, things like that, or just wear something over a dress. So my plan is to get a few of my summer knits ready for then. And I don't really want to start in June because I will not get through, I might just finish one or two tops. And I really kind of want to get through a lot of them before I go on this trip. My goal for this year, last year my goal was really to end the year with no whips, have everything off needles. And I did it. I was extremely happy about it. I managed to get through a larger project that I had on needles for quite a while. which was a blanket that I purchased off of Knit Picks. It's called the Hue Shift. If you look at my Vlogmas, you'll see it there. At one point I do talk about it. I managed to get through, you know, everything that I had on my needles. I cleared my needles. So January 1st, I was able to cast on something brand new. I don't even remember what project it was on January 1st. I feel like it might have been a Musselburgh hat because I was getting ready to go to Vogue Knitting. And I think I had wanted to get it started before my trip, but I can't quite, don't quote me on that, I can't quite remember. I've given that it's, you know, already the month of August, I most likely will, you know, every once in a while talk about some past knits, some things that I've made that I'm extremely happy about or proud about. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming. I'm not going to try and have the podcast to be too long. I don't really want to ramble, although I tend to do that at times. But yes, so what I'm wearing today is one of my favorite summer knits. I wear this even on crazy hot days. I absolutely love it. It is the Yume. I believe it's Isabell Kraemer. I'll just get up a little bit to show you. It's the Yume, so it has like a nice little detail in the yoke here, a little bit of a lace work. And the yarn that I used, I purchased off of Espace Tico, and it's Julie Estin. It's her Fino, line, and I believe it is 100% linen, if I'm not mistaken. Now, my linen, I've had this now for a few years. The linen is still not, it hasn't softened. But I learned recently that with linen, you kind of have to throw it in the wash and into the dryer, and I've always been hand washing it. So I think it just needs a little bit of a rough and tumble in the dryer. So I think I'm going to, I still have some left. I'm a little bit nervous about throwing it into the machine because this is my favorite top. I mean, worst case scenario, I can always make another if something really goes, you know, sideways with it. But what I might do is I have some of the yarn left over. I might just make, you know, a larger swatch, throw it in and just see what happens before I throw in my top. I'm still a bit nervous about throwing my knits into the machine, even though some of them you definitely can. I mean, even my socks, I hand wash them. It's a little silly. So this is this top. It's one of my favorites. I made it many years ago. Like I said, it's my go-to. I bring it on a lot of my cruise vacations. It's great in the evening, and, you know, just to kind of wear around. And yes. All right. So to talk about my yarn and my projects now for the fall, and I'll try and put in a photo, and I'll add in the name and the designer in the YouTube video for you. Hopefully that'll work out well. I'm very new at editing videos. So let's start. They're not in any particular order, except I kept the one that I'm going to start next last. So I'll talk about that one last. Okay, so I think my oldest purchase for a sweater quantity was a bit done on a whim. It was something that I saw on Libby and Aimee's website. A lot of my friends know the story. I'm not going to go through the full story with you, but let's just say I was expecting to have the full sweater quantity and realized once the yarn came in that it was only for the yoke. And it being in euros, you know, Canadian dollar isn't that great, so it was pretty expensive. It is called the Foxthoughts pullover, and it is by Hiroko Payne. Sorry, I may not be pronouncing that properly. It's lovely. They actually have different versions of it now. There's a cardigan. So initially when it came out, it was cardigan and pullover, but now I believe they also have a V-neck version. I think I'm still going to do the pullover, and I'll show you a little bit of the yarn colors and my swatch. So the first time what ended up happening was, I don't believe I actually swatched for this. This was about 5 years or 6 years ago. I did not swatch back then. I just was very excited to cast on, so I just kind of went with it. And I should have swatched This pattern actually has, I'm going to say, about 15 or so different colors. And the way it works is that you're always holding 2 strands and 2 strands, and you're working with each of those in the color work. And as you're fading in and out, you swap out one strand for another and the colors, and you're kind of fading it through. It's a beautiful pattern. But yes, so I did my swatch. So I followed a bit of an easier pattern for the swatch, but I did it with, let's hold this up here. I did it with the color work, just so I can get my gauge on color work and also on the plain knitting. And I have my stitch markers here, but I am going to a yarn festival next weekend, and I am hoping to pick up one of those gauge rulers that are like a square that you can just put on. A friend of mine has that, and I used it recently and absolutely loved it. It was very easy to count. So I think I'm going to try and pick up one of those before I actually do cast this one on. But I have figured out my gauge is a little bit, it's not the same as what's in the pattern. And I believe I need to go down a size because it is going to be too big if I continue. And I don't really want to reduce the size of the needle because I do like the fabric. Like, it's not puncturing through. It's not see-through. And it's not too stiff either, especially down here. I feel like it's just really nice and flowy. So I don't really want to play around with my needles. So I think I'm actually going to go down a size in the pattern. I often go too large. It's just something, you know, ever since I was little, I've always liked baggy clothes. So I always tend to go bigger, and I'm realizing more and more that I don't really need to do that. I can go down a size on a lot of my knits. So that's my gauge. I'll show a photo. These are all the different colors of yarns that you're holding. And this is what I had done previously to organize myself because I knew that I was going to lose some of the tags. So I just kind of wrote down, you know, the name and then the different colors that they are. And do I have? I have a photo, but it's not super great. But like I said, I will try to post one. But in case I cannot post one, I think if I do this, yeah, this is fine. I wouldn't be revealing anything of the pattern, but that is the sweater. They have different versions for the neckline. This is the crew neck. I'm going to do a neckline that's a little bit lower, kind of similar to this top. I don't like having sweaters like right up to my neck. And the yarn, I should probably talk about that, right? So the yarn is basically you're holding Felix, so it's Luppino made Felix, and you're holding that with a Helix together. My main color for my body is this lovely, it's sort of like a really dark navy blue, but almost looks green. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera, but it is very nice and squishy. I'll see if I have the name of that one. Yes, it's called Winterfell. So I believe it's a colorway that was named after the, I was going to say Lord of the Rings. It's not Lord of the Rings. Oh my goodness. Game of Thrones. Sorry. A lot of you are probably like, Game of Thrones. Yeah, so it's called Winterfell. So beautiful color. And I have a couple of my colors out here. I'll just show you the ones that are not in little bags right now. So some of these with lovely turquoise. There's also some purple. There's that bright pink as well. That one's kind of in a bag right now, so I won't necessarily take that one out to show you. There's this lovely as well. So all of these different colors, I have them all organized in a big box. And what happened was, because by the time I pulled it apart, I was already at the yoke, splitting for sleeves. And that's when it was just falling off my shoulders. It was so big. When I pulled back, I was smart, I'm hoping, about it. As I was pulling back, I was keeping track of what row that yarn was for. And so I have all of them in little baggies, and they tell me exactly what row and what color on my color chart it is. So this one is the J1, so I'll go look at that color chart and I'll be able to know. And it was on row 7 that I had introduced this one. So I'm hoping that's going to work for when I pick it up again. My plan is to pick it up before I go to Rhinebeck. Initially, I wanted to have it ready for Rhinebeck, but that is not going to happen, I don't believe, because last night I decided to cast on a different sweater for Rhinebeck. So that is the first one. All right, my next one, looking for my notes. All right, this one is yarn that I purchased from Vogue Knitting. And when I went in January with a friend of mine, which if you've never been, I think you have to go at least once. It's quite an event. There's a lot of people, a lot of vendors, a lot of workshops. I took fantastic workshops. I learned how to continental knit with Vera, and I took also another one about, where to get your inspiration for designing. Not that I want to design, but if ever I want to dabble down that road, I thought it was just interesting to see where they get their inspiration from. So I bought yarn from a company in Peru. They made their way to Vogue all the way from Peru. It was beautiful, chunky type wool. Right now I kind of have it, actually I have a swatch here. I have it all kind of wound up in ball, but this is my swatch. It's very chunky. It kind of makes me think of knit collage in that, it's not always the same thickness of yarn, of wool. So that's my swatch. I did swatch for it. I did follow the pattern. The pattern is called, the one that I initially made, I don't remember. I think I have it here. Give me 1 second. I do. I think it was called, oh no. I was going to say, I think it's Kinua Slub, but Kinua Slub is the company. The Kinua is the company, and Slub was, oh yes, okay. And Slub was the brand, or like the name for the type of the yarn that they have. And it's super bulky. And the sweater that I had started was, or that I made, was the Essential Sweater. And I was supposed to have enough yarn. I was supposed to have enough wool, and I ran out. I was not able to finish my sleeves. My sleeves were both sort of short, just before my elbow. And it is a chunky sweater. It was meant to be worn outside. It was not meant to be worn as a short sleeve. It was not really what I really wanted. I tried to block it, and I was not thinking. So when I blocked it, I was like, I'll stretch it, and then I can maybe unwind a bit from the bottom and use some of that yarn for the sleeves and keep it a little shorter. But obviously when you're blocking and you're trying to stretch out a little bit, I was not thinking, but it stretched the neckline so much that it was falling off my shoulders. And it was just not wearable. And I was very frustrated that the sweater wasn't working out for me. It didn't take very long to knit because it's so chunky. It's like such a thick wool that I think it only took me 2 weeks to kind of, knit up. But I was pretty upset that it didn't work out for me. And I rolled up the yarn in these big balls, and it lived in my closet since I think this was in February. It basically lived in my closet. I've taken it out today. I found another pattern that I think that I have enough yarn for, that I think will work a lot better. It's actually a pattern, I don't know if it's designed by Knit Collage, but I think it's meant to be knit up with the knit, or their sample was made with the Knit Collage. But it is called the Snowfall Bobble Sweater, and it is by Annie Lupton. And it's an actual cardigan. So given that it's a cardigan, I don't think I'm going to need as much yarn. I love the look of it. I think it's going to look really good. I have some of this pink as well. So I don't know how I'll incorporate the pink in the cardigan, but I'll take a look and see. So that's my second plan for this winter. The third one is a design by Kim McBrien Evans, and I purchased yarn from Kim as well. I've taken a perfect fit sweater class with Kim a few years back at a local store called Maker Savvy here in Ottawa, and learned a lot about my own body fit, my measurements, and how to customize things to fit me. And I've kind of dabbled a little bit in it, but I haven't really like put the full course into practice yet. But Kim has a lovely design. When we were at the course, she brought a lot of her sweaters. We were able to try them on, and I just fell in love with a couple of them that she had there for sure. So I decided to work on the Edgeways cardigan. Now this yarn isn't that old, I guess. I purchased this last June at our Ottawa Knitters Guild. Every June they have a vendors night where local vendors, mostly they're local or from their region of Ontario, they come and they vend their yarn, their products. There was a lovely two ladies who were selling a bunch of different random buttons. It was buttons everywhere. It was amazing. So Kim was actually at the event, and I had spoken to Kim prior to because I wanted to talk to her about colors and kind of see what I wanted to do. And so Kim very gracefully helped me out in putting together a kit for me, and I met her at the guild, and I was able to pick up my sweater quantity from her. So the yarn, my colors, am I missing one? Oh no, I have it here. Okay, good. So the Edgeways cardigan is actually seamed together, so it'll be my first full seam. I've done a seam cardigan for my brother, but this will be my second one, and I'm really curious to find out because I kind of, I didn't really know exactly what I was doing seaming the first time around, so I'm curious to find out if I did it properly the first time, or if there's anything that I can do, lessons learned, things like that. But my colors are these. So on the cardigan, there are some thinner stripes. My plan is to use the dark purple for the thinner stripes. And then I've got the larger stripes will be of these two colors. So very beautiful. The yarn it's her R.O.U Sport, so her R.O.U Sport. It's 100% superwash merino. It's 328 yards per 100 grams gain. I believe it is sport or DK. I think it might be sport weight. So I'm looking forward to casting this on. It's an oversized cardigan. Well, it looks oversized, and it's going to be amazing. I wear cardigans at home all the time in the winter when I'm chilly, so I have a feeling that this might be my second project that I'll cast on. So that's that one. All right, so my fourth sweater pattern or sweater that I'm thinking about making is called the C Street Cold Shoulder, and it is by Briana Luppino from the Little Wolf Knits. Briana has this beautiful, so it's a beautiful sweater. I believe it's top down. It actually has the cold shoulders, so your shoulders are exposed. So I'm very excited to do that. I have a dress that's like that, and I absolutely love it. And last Christmas, if you watched my Vlogmas, you would have seen that I had purchased a yarn advent from Leo and Roxy. And in my yarn advent, it came with like 24 mini skeins and one full skein. And the full skein that it came with was called Totally Tubular, and it's this lovely greens. They're mostly different shades of greens. There's a bit of a blue tint to them as well. And what I did was I got in touch with Leo and Roxy, and I've asked her if it was possible, if she had any extras, to let me know. And I would be interested in purchasing them, and she did. So I was able to get 3 more. So I believe that this is going to be my cold shoulder sweater. I'm very excited to knit this one up. I think it's going to be great. It is fingering weight, and the pattern calls for fingering weight, so that's perfect. I think it'll work out really well. Actually, it's 80% merino, 20% nylon, so kind of like a sweater or sock weight. So if I have a little bit left over, maybe I can make a pair of shorty socks as well. I'll see how it plays out, but very excited for this, so that's going to be great. I definitely want to have that on my needles this winter. And my last project is yarn that I purchased most recently. It is called the Granola Muesli, and it is by Donna, Estin, and it is with yarn from Biscotte yarn. It's actually Louise Robert design from the Biscotte yarn stores. Now, there are a lot of the Biscotte stores on the Quebec side. There's one in New York, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's in Jersey. And they have a couple of stores in Montreal, Quebec City, things like that. And Ottawa now has a store. They opened, I believe it was in the month of May, if I'm not mistaken. And so I went over just to see what they had. And they had this lovely, and it's hemp yarn, which is very interesting. So my colors to start for my sweater is going to be these. So a light gray, a dark gray, sort of like a lighter pink, and kind of like a maroony wine sort of color, actually very similar to what I'm wearing. Clearly I've got a color palette that I really enjoy. So the yarn itself is 70% merino and 30% hemp. Now, the tag says to wash by hand, but on their website and when I purchased it from the store, the lady working there told me to knit up my swatch and throw it in the wash and in the dryer. Apparently, hemp will grow a lot. And so she said that definitely, like, if you lay it down flat to dry, it will grow because of, I guess, the weight and whatnot. So it's always best to throw it in the dryer because it kind of takes its shape back. And if ever it comes out of the dryer too small, basically you just kind of spray it down with a bit of water and lay it out, and it'll kind of get its shape back. So very interested. This is going to be my Rhinebeck sweater. Like I said, I'm going to put all of these in my show notes. I wanted to just share with you sort of what I want to do, and I'm going to have all of these sweaters quantities up on my bookcase just as sort of like a reminder, kind of getting excited about casting on these different sweaters. Now, in terms of what I have on my needles, I do have another one that I'm currently working on. I have it downstairs, so I'm not going to show it to you. It's not very big. I've only knit about 2 or 3 inches of it so far. But that one is the Fluff, and it's a shrug. Give me a second. I'll pull it up here. Okay, so it is Fluff, and it is by the Yarner. What I love about this is the yarner is an Ottawa designer, so local to me, which is amazing, and the yarn is local to me. So I just thought that was really, really amazing. The yarn is from Karen, and she is from, I always forget, Pretty Strings. So Karen, I was at a friend's house. We had gotten together to do some knitting, and Karen was there and had a whole bunch of her yarn bins with her. She brought it because some people wanted to see and maybe make some purchases, and she had on this lovely shrug. My daughter was with me, and she tried it on and fell in love with it, and for the first time ever asked me to make her something. So of course I'm going to say yes. And so yes, so I bought this. She wanted it in the light gray. So I've started this one. I wanted to have it ready for September for her, but that's not going to happen. The shrug, you basically knit like a large rectangular piece, and then the sleeves kind of get knit up together, and it kind of closes it up a bit. And so I have a lot of knitting to do, and it is Surrey alpaca, and it is held single. So very, very fine. It will take me a long time, I think, to get through. My plan is to sort of break it out. This month, I want to knit an inch of it every week. So every week, I just want to add an inch. And then I'm going to see where I end up in September, October. Once my Rhinebeck sweater is done, then at that point, I think I'm going to kind of map out if I want to have it done by Christmas. What does that look like? How much do I need to progress and when? Just to map it out so that I actually have it done in time and I don't have to rush at the end, because it would be great to give that to her at Christmas. So I have that on my needles currently that I'm working on. And my other one that I'm currently working on, actually I won't show it right now because I'm almost done, and I'll keep that for either a video that I might do on the Twist Festival, which I'm going next weekend, or I'll keep it for my monthly podcast. So I'll show you that one after. So I think that is all for now. I spoke for 30 minutes. Wow, spoke a lot. So yeah, so that's sort of my plans for my sweater. I don't think I'm going to get through all 5 of them. Well, 6 if you count the fluff. But I will play it by ear, and I will see what I feel like casting on when I'm ready to cast on a new project. I like to try to be a bit monogamous. However, I always tend to have about 2 to 3 projects on the go just to change things up a little bit. So once I'm done with my current whip, which I'll show you later, I should have that done by next weekend because I do want to wear it to the festival. Then I'm going to definitely cast on my next one, which is this lovely Muesli Granola. And the yarn is actually called Granola. Anywho, so I'm going to cast this one on next. I think I'm going to work on my gauge swatch sometime this week or next week to have a good sense of where my gauge is at. And that's that. So I'll keep the video running as I'm putting away my my yarn up on my shelf. If you wanted to see it, I'll put it in fast motion. And yeah, so I will definitely come back to you before the end of August. I haven't quite figured out yet when I will be posting my videos live, or when I'll be posting my videos. But once I have a better idea on schedule and all that stuff, I'll keep you all posted. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble for over 30 minutes today. Like I said, I'm a bit new on the editing, so I did this all in one cut. And I will also try to link in as much as I can the patterns that I've been talking about in the yarns today. And I will be back with some more content later on. So if you liked my video, if you want to keep following my journey on my knitting, and I'm going to be crocheting as well this fall, definitely stay tuned. You can hit like or subscribe if you want. I'll be posting my videos, that sort of, indicating that they're posted on my Instagram as well. So you can always take a look at it there. Thanks again, and I hope you're all having a great day and that it's not too warm for you where you are, or too cold depending on where you are in the world. Thanks so much for listening.